Okay, I've got a surprise for you. In my lap, I have my family agreements. And like I stated before, if you've watched the agreements and seen the check-ins, I'm not going to give you specific agreements to follow with your family. But I do know that you need to know how to establish agreements in your family. All this talk about agreements, well, how do I go about doing this, Hannah? So I'd love to let you know how we've done it in our family, communicate that with you, and that can be a great starting point for you. But I want to check in with you that you're remembering agreements they're not rules and regulations, they're basically a style of communicating with your family where you're being positive, you're using positive language with your family, saying what it is that you want versus what you don't want. You're keeping it clear and simple, and your expectations are realistic. So that's what it is that we're going to work on right now. With my family, I sat down with them and we talked about what it is that we liked about each other, what it was that made us happy, what it was that we were thankful for. And I kind of scribbled those down a little bit. And we talked about things that made us sad, things that were frustrating for us, things we didn't like, and wrote those down. And those can be hard to swallow. It's nice when you can open up and communicate with each other in that regard. And that in itself is incredibly therapeutic. And then we took those and we decided that, we're going to start out with a small number. We want to be realistic. So we took 5 as our family number. It's what fit on the paper, which was nice. We didn't try to fill the paper with, really small writing. We also felt like these were agreements that were realistic and that we all could feel that are important and valuable. And that's one of the things that are important. If an expectation is only important to you, then check in with your family and communicate and dialogue, because these expectations and these agreements are somewhere where we're going to kind of meet in the middle, where I may have to let go of something and you may have to let go of something, and maybe somewhere in the middle we'll have an agreement on this family expectation so that we're being realistic of what it is that the family is striving for and achieving, and it makes it more obtainable to people, and it has more value if they have input from your family to this form. It makes it more of an ownership thing. They feel like they own the agreements with you as much as you do. So pick and choose your battles, right? I mean, the house isn't going to be immaculate in a day. That's not realistic. Asking a 4-year-old to clean their whole room, that's not a realistic expectation. So find the ones that you feel like are the most important, that in implementing them and sticking to them would create a level of peace, and that you could kind of feel your family momentum moving forward and coming together. That's really what you're wanting to do with this. This is to set you up for success, not failure. So get together with your family, write down those things that are important to you, and then post them somewhere. Like I post everything on my refrigerator. That's like my little intention board. It's got everything going on. If it's not on my iPhone, it's on my refrigerator. And it's somewhere where I feel like it's very visible to my family. And we wrote down what it was that was important to us. We decorated it. We put it somewhere that's in clear view. And when we're struggling with them, when we feel like we're having a hard time with our agreements, we'll go back, grab it, check in. I'll have my child read to me an agreement if I feel like they're having a hard time. Maybe they're having a hard time with my children. It was sarcasm. I felt, for me, as an agreement, that using kind words was important to me, and my children were in a very sarcastic place. And, there's a place and time for sarcasm, but it felt like it was just at a level that I wasn't comfortable with, and it was creating this frustration in our home because I just was over it. And so one of the expectations that I asked from my children was, please save funny jokes, voices, ideas, and sounds for conversations or playtime, not during instructions. Because it seemed like I found that whenever it was we were working out something we were working on, they would crack a joke every time. And it was just, everything was a joke. And I wanted them to balance that. Yes, I understand and honor where you're at developmentally. It's important to you right now that you're learning about the value of jokes. Great. But there's a time and place for it. So this agreement honored that they are in a joking mood, but it gave them clear boundaries of when it was okay to be joking and to joke and play around, and when it was time to listen. So that was one of the agreements that went up on the board. And when I found that my children were in a really sarcastic place when I was trying to work with them on homework or clean up the kitchen, I would check in with them and I would say how I felt, that positive parenting style. I'm feeling frustrated. And I'd give information. You're joking when we're giving instructions. And I know that's not one of our family agreements. Do we need to go over and read the agreements together? Or do you feel like you can stop joking? and so they'd go over and read it. Let's go look and visit our family agreements. So this is our agreement. And once we've written it on the refrigerator and we agree, it's important that our family agrees to stick to these agreements. They don't work if we don't all stick and work together. So what I say is once it's on the agreement board, no one person gets to break the agreements without there being some type of natural consequence or an imposed consequence that we've also discussed. We'll talk about that more later. What do you do when agreements are being broken? So that we can stay on the same page. And when you find an agreement that the family has really, there are some agreements that your family will just absolutely soar past, you'll move through it. It really doesn't need to be on your agreement board anymore. They've left the joking stage, or, if they're at a young age where they're very combative and, they like to argue and manipulate, and you're finding they leave that stage, I'm curious when they ever leave that stage. I think some agreements could be written like Moses' 10 Commandments. They're on there. It's there. But if you find that they're leaving, you can add a different agreement. You can change the agreements. So be careful. Please don't fill your refrigerator full of 15 or 20 different agreement boards. I could see that too. Well, these are the behavioral agreements, and these are our core agreements, and these are situational agreements. Really, this is just teaching you a style of talking. This is helping you check in with each other. Some agreements you'll be able to just have verbally with your family. You won't necessarily have to post them. But these are the ones that, right now in my family, these agreements need to be worked on, because as a family, there's discord in this area, and we really want to come back and create a place of peace and harmony. So post your agreements. Remind your family that this is an opportunity. This is not a punishment. It's not a negative thing. This is an opportunity for you to connect and work together as a team. I think something I have on here says that we are a team and we all have jobs to do. Helping each other is part of being a family. That's one of our agreements in our family. That's important to me, that we're building that team and that connection. And I'm willing to do my part to keep that connection. I'm willing to be consistent. I'm willing to follow through. I'm willing to hold up my end of the agreement. And I have broken agreements before, and we'll talk about that too when I check in, and what it means to have to come back, and things will waffle and things will wane, and you'll find times where it's harder than others to keep these agreements, but stay focused, put them up where you can see them, and get to work, because it's worth it. And yes, it's work, but it's work that's worth it. I guess now I'm just in a really funny mood, aren't I? Okay, I gotta read this bottom part to you. It says, "You I love. We are to praise, guide, love, acknowledge, good behavior, and healthy choices." That's an agreement that I have on here, but that agreement is specifically between my husband and I. And that's the agreement that we have on how we're going to parent our children. And when we're catching ourselves maybe being a little mean-spirited, we'll check back in on that agreement. And it's not my job to police my husband or bulldog him or vice versa. But if we find that we're breaking a lot of agreements, it's usually time for a family check-in to sit down and talk about getting back on track with these agreements. Just like anything. Anything worth having is worth working for. And I'm telling you, it's worth it. Here right now, hear the peace, hear the harmony. These days, right now, outnumber the days of discord. And I'll take them as long as I can. And I'll enjoy it. And I hope you have the opportunity to enjoy it too. All right, I'm sure we'll have some check-ins about this. We'll dig deeper, but this is a great place to start. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care now. Bye.